Hey, I'm Quincy and I'm a radio personality, but just like you, I'm always wanting to make better health choices for myself and of course for my family. Now that's why I've teamed up with my friend Dr. Dean Tindall and the fine folks of New Life Naturopathic, the creators of new-lifeweightloss.com, to bring you a podcast focused on giving you the information you need to make the best health decisions for you and your family. Now, that's going to be without sway from what mainstream medicine has become. Now, this podcast, Pursuit of New Life, we're going to release one each Friday. And we're going to focus on debunking the mainstream medicine myths now associated with naturopathic, holistic medicine, while giving you clear insight into ways you can make your health a lifestyle and not a jump from fad diet to fad diet. Experts in the fields of biochemistry, chiropractic, physiology, women's health, and much more will weigh in on a range of topics, all designed to open your eyes, expand your knowledge, and bring you to new life. Now be sure to subscribe to Pursuit of New Life on all the podcast platforms, and also follow us on YouTube at newlifenaturopathic.com, and be joining us every Friday for Pursuit of New Life. Yes, welcome to another episode of Pursuit of New Life here, and we are so glad that you've come along with us. We encourage you to subscribe and download and all of that good stuff. Share it with your friends. Got some good information for you, and we're going to be bringing in the Pursuit of New Life team, and just to show you guys how dedicated I am to this topic in this show, I took a nap just a little bit ago. So we're gonna talk about sleep today. So I thought it was fitting.
I have to admit, I just had one myself. So
well, that's a good way to get started in. And I guess that means you need to start us off as always, Dr. Tindall.
Yeah, sleep. One of the funnest things that we get to deal with in our office. It's one of our big complaints people have, is something they never have enough of and something they want more of, and they just can't seem to ever get it.
Sleep and money, right?
Yeah. So, it is a big issue because it affects your health in so many different ways. And a lot of people, just their sleep cycles are completely messed up. We have a circadian cycle that your body kind of goes through for healing, detoxification, things like that, with work and stress and and kids and activities and all that stuff. Those cycles can get really messed up. And I'm sure everybody here today and everybody we're speaking to understands that and gets it. I know that, I've had my history of those problems, especially back in college and stuff like that. But yeah, so when we deal with sleep issues, we have to, naturopathic wise, chiropractic plays a big role in it, getting them patients adjusted and things like that. But naturopathic wise, it's a little bit more difficult because we got to kind of delve into the reason that you're not getting the sleep. Is it nutritional deficiencies? Is it an adrenal problem? Is it a liver problem? Is it a brain inflammation issue? So it takes a lot of history and work and going through the patient and trying to figure out what that is. And then, a lot of it is trial and error because there's really no testing, for people like, why do you have sleep issues? A lot of times the medical profession, they kind of have it easy. Here's your drug. And, we think you have sleep apnea. Let's hook you up to a machine. And then, and then that definitely helps people. But what, long-term, you want to find out that cause because it's just associated with so many other health disorders and problems that you can have.
Yeah. Well, I know that part of what we're going to talk about today is that circadian rhythm and how that relates to sleep. We'll do that in just a little bit. Mariam, I guess we're going to start with you because I think we all probably have our own personal stories about sleep and its impact on our lives. But we'll let you get us started because, when I asked that question before we got started, it made Dr. Tindall chuckle. I want to have you tell your personal story about sleep. So we'll let you get started.
Yeah, so as Dr. Tindall probably knows, since he has assisted me with such problem, I've always had trouble with sleep, but it's one of those things that I feel like I need it even more than the average person, just because of how messed up I am and have been health-wise. But it's just one of those caveats to where, the vicious cycle of you can't get the sleep that you need to function, and the less sleep you get, the less you function. It's like I'm tired enough to, or I'm sleepy enough that I really need to get some sleep, but my brain is going 100 miles an hour, or I guess a million miles an hour, and I can't seem to fall asleep, or there's always a problem with it. But I do know for certain that when I don't get my sleep, I can't do anything right. The rest of my day is just lost, and I know that it's just going to go downhill from there if I don't get the sleep that I need. But sleep is very underestimated. Um, I hear people say sometimes, sleep is for the weak, and there's no other statement that bothers me or as much as this, because we all really need sleep. It is so important. It basically flushes out all of the toxins in your body. It is really good for your physical and mental health. What's called the lymphatic system is basically what's associated with sleep. So if you kind of look that up, there's tons and tons of research that has been conducted on the sleep cycle and circadian rhythms and the benefits of sleep. But yeah, I mean, if I don't get my sleep, my whole day is ruined. And so, to me personally, sleep is extremely important. And I personally cannot do without it. I've tried, trust me, I've tried, but I just can't get away
like the
with
rest
it.
of us, like the rest of us, you're a big fan of naps, right?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like a cat. I have to have my naps too. But yeah, I mean, there are studies that have even shown that if you get bad sleep, you are at least twice as likely to get in a car accident. And there are, I think there was an article that mentioned that at least 40 or so % of Americans have actually reported falling asleep on the job or at work, and that is so dangerous. There's even studies that have shown that sleep can be more dangerous than drunk driving behind the wheel. So it's definitely something that should not be underestimated.
Yeah, and it's pretty rare here in America to have a company that allows naps, but I do know in other places, in other countries, they build it into the work schedule, and it's okay.
Nap pods.
Well, you get better.
Every single place should have them.
Go ahead, Dr. Tindall.
You get better performance out of their workers and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because one of the big myths that I always hear about people, especially younger people, is like, I'll just catch up on my sleep next time. They stay up all night. I'll just catch up on my sleep. No, you never do.
All-nighter.
Yeah, that's very difficult to do. Hey, Dr. Stuber, what about your personal history or personal story about sleep and its importance for us today?
Oh, goodness. Well, first of all, I am not a good sleeper. I struggle with it. Dr. Tindall has helped me so much nutritionally. Also, I can say firsthand, when you don't sleep good and you're chronically tired, it's dangerous. I had a bad fall off a ladder in 2011, and it was directly because I was tired. I just wasn't focused. Your brain, when you sleep, your nervous system physically rinses off and gets clean, so it gives you that alertness and your awareness, and you're able to concentrate. And I just can remember vividly thinking to myself, boy, I'm tired. And then I just felt myself like wobble, and that was it. I knew I was off the ladder. So as Mariam was talking about, it's dangerous when you drive. It's dangerous if you're taking care of children. And it's not good for your body. There's studies that show that your increased risk of diabetes, heart attack, stroke, all go up significantly. The number one thing I was reading the studies earlier, that obesity increases directly with your lack of sleep. And it has to do with the chemicals in your brain, which I'm sure Dr. Tindall's going to talk about. And specifically, it affects your appetite, to where if you don't sleep and you feel tired, your hormone balance gets off. But two things: because of the hormone imbalance, you want to eat more. And because you're exhausted, you want to reach for those sweets, those candies, cookies, pastas, things that give us instant energy. But what happens, you get the instant energy, and then you want to, your body wants to then take a nap, so you reach for more energy. I mean, we are a society that is over caffeinated, over nicotined, over chocolated, just everything. The amount of stimulus that the country takes is incredible. And it's not just how much you sleep. Like they will say, oh, you need 7 to 9 hours, when little kids need more. And as we get older, you need less. When you're pregnant, you need more. It's about quality of sleep too. There's cycles of sleep. There's different depths of sleep. There's all kind of brainwave patterns, which I believe Dr. Tindall's going to talk about. But what we do is, I will just talk about myself in practice. What I hear is women, it's besides weight, the number one thing I hear, and they go together, is I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. Again, I was doing some research, and what interested me is the physical stress that our women's bodies go through between puberty, childbearing, nursing, recovering from having a baby, menopause, create more stress on the body, which causes us not to sleep. We secrete cortisol, and it just upsets the whole pattern. So you have to figure out why someone's not sleeping, why a lady's not sleeping. Also, 2 times as many women have insomnia as men do. However, those are numbers based on what we know. Then you look at the numbers, and they estimate 60% of women that do have sleeping disturbances don't even know it. So I was talking to Dr. Tindall, and I was teasing him. I said, I think what happens is the woman doesn't sleep and the man snores. So they blame the man, you're snoring, you got a sleep disturbance, you need to go have the sleep study. When in reality, if the woman slept sound, she probably wouldn't hear the snoring, and both parties would be rested. So, and
speaking of cycles, right?
Yeah, exactly. And another big factor is, it used to be the cycle of light and dark affects how we sleep. And it's actually the light that comes through your eyelids when you're awake. Like as you blink, it's the light that comes through when your eyes are under your eyelids that controls your circadian rhythm, a large part of it. So because we live in a world full of electronics and blue light, and we have light on all the time, it disrupts our sleep cycle. Yeah. So what we do is we isolate what is causing the problem, and then we can address how to support the body, and also educate you as to what you can do to make things better.
Well, and in some cases, for the holistic approach, you're depending on a client or a patient being honest about what their sleep schedule is and why there's a problem, right?
Yes, and sometimes, in fact, a lot of times, women are exhausted, but yet they don't tag it to I don't sleep. Or they think, oh, that's just normal. I have kids. You never sleep after you have kids. Or, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I hear that a lot. So getting to that point, like how many times I've said, well, do you sleep? They're like, well, I think so. And because when I was in school, I slept good, not enough hours, but it's because you're exhausted. Right. Dr. Tindall can tell you, like, it was, study, collapse, and then get up at 5. Like I felt chronically tired, but I slept good. I would go home at lunch, take a 10-minute nap. Like now, if I nap during the day, I don't sleep well at night, but again, I'm working on it, and that has to do with menopause and all sorts of things. But once the other problem with sleep is once you're aware that, oh, I don't sleep well, then what happens is when you lay down and you feel like you can't sleep, you really can't sleep because you look at the clock and think, oh my gosh, I should be sleeping. Oh, I'm not going to sleep. And then your brain gets going and going and going, and you're just chronically don't sleep. Um, women's brains are just wired different. There's a part of the brain called the limbic system, and it has to do with how we process our feelings and our emotions, and it's much more active. So women are more likely to think things, overthink things, and that part of the brain kicks in during the nighttime. So the problem also when you don't sleep, as Dr. Tindall talked about, is our whole body detoxifies. When you are up and you're awake, you utilize your metabolism goes and you create byproducts that have to be metabolized, you have to get rid of, and that happens at nighttime. So when you don't sleep, all these toxins stay chronically in your body, and it causes physical pain. One thing I notice when I don't sleep or I go through a period, it can be kind of cyclic, as I just hurt. I'm like, oh boy, do I hurt. I know I didn't sleep very good, because you just don't, I can feel that those toxins are in my body. So what we do again is you have to find the problem, then you have to figure out why it's happening, and then do the best we can to support that sleep cycle.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Tindall, speaking of the sleep cycle, actually, I'm going to let you tell your personal fun with sleep first, and then and then we'll see if we can get into some of the technical parts of the cycle.
Yeah. Well, Julie mentioned it back in college when we were chiropractic college. I think our class, I think we started at 7:30 or 7:30 in the morning, and then
way too early.
Way too early. And you had classes all day. I think we took eight classes through the day. So, and each class is an hour long. And then and I worked. So I worked at school in the continuing ed departments. Like, so when I had a break, I didn't actually take a nap. I went to continuing ed and worked at as a stat, and then I also worked at UPS. So wow. When I became a supervisor, my shift was, I had the midnight shift. So I had to be in at 10 o'clock at night, and I worked till 4 in. So my average sleep through about the last, 2 years of college was basically 3 hours a night. Of course, some on the weekends we didn't sleep either.
Didn't sleep at all, right?
Yeah.
Had
you had to catch up. On. Yeah. Had other things going on. So, for several years there, I slept, maybe 3 hours a night. And I remember a couple of incidents in class. One of them was I talked to my friends, and I said something to them, and they said something back to me, and they looked back at me, and I was just asleep. I fell asleep in my chair. I mean, I was that exhausted. And then one time we were in a pelvic adjusting class, and they got benches. So that was I laid
not
down
a good combination.
No, it wasn't. I remember the teacher yelling at me, "Hey, Tindall, this is an expensive hotel." Woke up. I was, "Oh, I'm sorry, man." But yeah, and what's funny is that because of that 2 years of just kind of that thing, that had my sleep cycle messed up for a long, long time. And so, like, even today, if I stay up past midnight, I'm up. For some reason, I get kind of access back to that. So one of my strategies, and kind of what we do with strategies with patients and stuff, is you develop habits. So like I have a kind of a process that of going to bed. So I try to be in bed about 10:30, try no later than 11. I usually will have like if I do watch some TV, it's at night. The room is actually really dark, and then when in my bedroom, it's like super dark. So I got like blackout shades, so no light whatsoever really comes in. And then also YouTube has some great videos that have like at certain frequencies at like 532 and you can kind of look them up. They're different frequencies for sleeping, and they run for 12 hours. So I'll put that on. Of course, my phone's face down so the light doesn't. And then I have a white noise machine, and so that's what I kind of do is this kind of a process of sleeping. I've gotten off of caffeine. So that's kind of, one of the things we do with here's genetic testing. One of the genetic testing things tells us is how you process caffeine. There's a great YouTube video or some guy did on as a podcast. It's about 15-20 minutes about your relationship with caffeine, and how you know your relationship with caffeine is get off caffeine for 60 days and see how you feel. So I switched to like a dandelion tea. So I got rid of the caffeine out of my life. So not completely. I probably have a cup of coffee once or twice a week now instead of in the past, I used to be 3 pots a day.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I was never a coffee drinker, but I've been off of caffeine now for about 3 years. And it's interesting because of having to get up early to do what I do. Everybody's like, how do you do that in the morning? Well, I get super fruits from Yoshigo. That's a good product for me. But other than that, they really don't do any of the boosting stuff. I'll eat an apple sometimes because I know that there's energy that comes from that. But you find a lot of other ways to get sustainable energy if you get caffeine out of your life. I'm telling you.
Well, your body just kind of gets adapted, and of course you get that circadian cycle, and then when you wake up in the morning, your body will naturally it's supposed to kick up your cortisol to wake you up, and cortisol is supposed to go down through the day and it bottoms out at midnight. So you should, be able to, you kind of hear that cycle. So you can see like, this is like on body temperatures and things like that. But you can see like at the morning, your blood pressure goes up at about 6 because your body's releasing cortisol to wake you up. So it ups your blood pressure. And then as you go through the day, you stop secreting, melatonin, which is, once again, it's kind of it's a hormone that you develop when you get out in the sun, but it gets converted into serotonin for sleeping. And then, as you can see, your body kind of goes through these different cycles and your activity levels go up. And then it's kind of interesting when you start to get around that 7 o'clock, your body's starting to tell your body's starting to say, okay, we're going to start getting ready for bed. And so that's why you're like, and traditionally, the sun's starting to go down, on an average of around, through the year on an average of around about 8 o'clock or so. In the winter, of course, it's getting dark around, 6 o'clock, at least to here. And then the summer, it's up to about 9:30. But you should see how you go. And you want to try to get, and so your optimal times for most people, if you're on a regular work cycle, not like Quincy is, but like the rest of us are, you're trying to get to bed between that 9. You want to try to really get into bed at that 9 to 11 o'clock time frame. And so what you want, what we tell a lot of patients to do is start really trying to wind your day down. If you want to watch a little TV, watch something that's funny, something that's relaxing, something, or read a book. Start letting the house get darker, because you want to kind of get back again that circadian cycle. As it gets dark outside, your body starts to want to get to that sleep. And especially when we have parents with kids, we tell them to get them off the iPads and the phones and off that blue light as soon as you can. Like say, no later than 6 or 7 o'clock at night, because that light goes in their eyes and is telling their brain it's daylight. It's time to be up and moving, when it's really not. And so go ahead. I
saw a meme the other day that I identified with pretty well, because a lot of us, don't sleep well, and it said something along the lines of all day my body is giving me these signs and these indications that it's time to go to sleep, but then when I lay down, it's like, what are you doing? it's time to be up.
It's time to be up.
So I think, a lot of us looking at this cycle, we're like, that actually makes sense. However, So I think what you said a moment ago about getting into the right routines and finding out what works for you that gets you wound down and ready for sleep and making that a habit will impact your sleep cycle more than almost anything.
Yeah. And so, we tell patients like different teas, like kava tea is a really good one to have at night. Herbal, like certain herbal teas that just help to calm you down, relax you. Those are really good to start to do. One of the things that we do with kids is we tell patients to put like a red light bulb in the kids' bedroom, because that red light starts to, again, kind of tell them it's because the blue light's kind of stimulating, it turns things on. Red light tends to like relax you, shut you down.
It's sunset. Yeah.
And so if you put that red light in their bedroom, it tends to starts to calm the kids down and get them ready for bed.
Yeah. So we talked about the cycle of sleep and some of the important parts of getting ourselves to sleep. Why don't you talk us through these stages of sleep and what that does for us?
So if you're kind of healthy and natural, you got your first stage of sleep is where you're kind of laying down, you're transitioning from wakefulness to sleep. And from, if you're healthy, things are going right, it's a 5 to 10 minute thing. Okay. And then, and again, and then the second stage is your body temperature drops, your heart rate slows, your brain starts to kind of what it says produces sleep spindles, but basically your brain's starting to kind of wind down. And it takes about 20 minutes. And then you go into your third stage where your body kind of relaxes, your blood pressure drops down, and then you start getting into your deepest sleep. What is interesting, especially when you did the deep sleep, we talk about detoxification, and Mariam talked about the lymphatic cycle. There was a cool study out of, I can't remember what school, I think it was in North Carolina. But your brain detoxes from the inside out. So what happens is, as you get sleeping, toxins move from your center part of your brain out to the outside of your brain to your arachnoid matter, your pia matter, through pia matter, your dura matter, pia matter, arachnoid matter, into that's those spaces there, especially the arachnoid space. And then that's where your lymphatics are, and it grabs those toxins. So that's why a lot of people, when you don't get that good sleep, your brain just feels like it's on fire. Your brain feels toxic because it technically is. And of course, then you get the REM sleep where you become paralyzed and your body doesn't move, but your brain becomes very active, but your body becomes almost immobile. That's when you're dreaming. So it's kind of interesting that your body does that. So you're active and you're dreaming, but your body can't actually move.
Right. I like that part of sleep.
So
some of the things that we know, as we've talked through some of our personal stories too, that there are some very bad side effects to sleep deprivation. So talk through some of the things that our bodies are going to deal with if we're not getting correct sleep.
Yeah. Well, Julie kind of touched on some of these, and so did Mariam. Mental health, that's a huge factor. The exhaustion, the fatigue, your serotonin levels get messed up. Your brain transmitters are messed up. So, and then the problem that you have is, a lot of times we get on these prescription medications, but when you look at the side effects of the prescription medications, a lot of it's insomnia and, increased problems with, pain, insomnia, and things like that. So it's like, so they don't work. And then the other problem that you get is you get addicted to these medications, and it becomes a vicious cycle, but your immune system becomes, taxed, weakens. And so you're now susceptible to different infections. Of course, blood sugar regulation issues, the diabetes. Again, if you're not resting well, your body needs to sleep, because a lot of your recovery of your systems are happening at night. You're releasing growth hormone and a bunch of different hormones for your body to repair. Again, if you're not sleeping, those growth hormones aren't released, other hormones aren't released, and these systems don't get repaired. So you get an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, obesity, hormonal imbalances, pain. The other part of the pain that occurs too is, again, if you're not detoxifying properly, a lot of people will notice if you miss sleep, you actually feel swollen, and they actually are, because your body didn't detox. so it tends to retain more water. So you get swollen on the eyes, your nail beds will get swollen, and you don't detoxify properly.
Do you have something you wanted to add there, Mariam?
Yeah, no, I mean, everything, you just hit the nail, because I experience that every time I don't get enough sleep. I know that, if I wake up and I haven't gotten enough sleep, my entire face just becomes swollen. I get really bad bags under my eyes, and there's not enough caffeine in the planet that can, undo that, or like, so I just kind of turn into a monster. It's weird. But it's really important to point out that it's not just the amount of sleep, but also the quality of sleep. They are both equally important. And it is easier said than done, because, some people work second or third shift, and, that's not advisable, of course, but, some people have to make more money. And what I advise to those folks is, do your best to at least still get the quality and amount of sleep, even though you're not sleeping when you should be.
Right.
So that's at least something. Certain drugs, I don't want to say drugs, but supplements, sometimes melatonin. I usually try to avoid just taking melatonin, because I have bad side effects. It just keeps me drowsy the entire day. But I was definitely put on some supplements to help with, regulating my sleep, staying asleep, and going to sleep. Being able to fall asleep, going into a deeper, more calm and restful sleep. Dreaming is also very important. That's very, very good for your mental health. Even nightmares sometimes, believe it or not, kind of a way for your brain to let out its subconscious. Exercise is very helpful. Also stress management, those go hand in hand. Sleep and stress. That's pretty much what I wanted to add. Eating well, of course, your diet. We can help with all that too.
Absolutely.
We also provide some lab tests and at-home test kits that they can actually assist in measuring your quality of sleep, because as Dr. Tindall was just mentioning, and when I first mentioned, the lymphatic system is basically a waste management system, and that is why sleep is so important. If you don't get rid of all those toxins and flush out all that waste from your body, it stays in it, and that's directly correlated to a lot of other health issues, and chronic long-term lack of sleep is very, very detrimental. It's almost like cancer disease.
I want to just add one thing before we get wrapped up here. Another thing I tell patients to do, kind of, again, strategies, that simple things that people can do is, I know it sounds funny to say this, but rooms have personalities. So what you want to make your bedroom. You want to make your bedroom. A lot of people go in their bedroom and they work. They take their work in their bedroom. They watch TV in their bedroom. They do all these activities in their bedroom. So what happens is that bedroom becomes when they walk into that room, it's a room that they tend to wake up, because I'm going to be doing stuff in here. And I tell them, so what I tell a lot of patients to do is, you do that work in your kitchen, do it somewhere else, where those activities are being done in there. Your bedroom is for two things only: sleep and having fun. And that's what they should always. That's what that bedroom should be, is an area that when you come in there, that you're going to, it's good. It's relaxation. It's fun. It's, what I'm saying, but mainly I'm going to come in here and I walk into this room and my energy level should come down. And I know that I'm in this room. This room is for me to sleep. And of course, get it really as dark as you can.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we covered that a lot of people probably are hopefully taking away from this episode is, if you do have bad sleep habits, the way to fix those is create good habits. Find someone that can help you and hold you accountable, and find a way that you can get yourself wound down each night. Because as we've talked about, the health benefits of your body needs the sleep to reset. It's like rebooting a computer and putting it to sleep so that it performs better the next time. So we need to make sure we're doing that. Our culture doesn't speak to it, but naps are good.
They are.
If you can find the time, make sure you make time for a nap. Well, we are going to wrap up this episode, but next week we're going to talk about another very important topic that everybody deals with as well, and that is going to be stress, and that is related to some lack of sleep things, and also impacts our mental health. And so we would encourage you to be part of that next episode. Tell your friends, download, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We encourage you to find us on all the podcast platforms and on YouTube, New Life Naturopathic. And we'll see you next time on Pursuit of New Life.
Bye, Quincy.
See you, Quincy.